G'day guys, Dane here from Clarkey's NRL column. Welcome back to another video. Today I am joined by Oliver from NRL In My Opinion. Oliver, how you going this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Pretty good. Alright guys, this is going to be our initial reaction to the NRL All-Stars lineups, which were of course announced yesterday towards, I believe, later in the night, 9-10 p.m. And we've both been busy today, so we've got a chance. Now we're going to make this video reacting to the teams. Let's start off with the Indigenous back five. Ben Barber, Blake Ferguson, Latrell Mitchell, James Roberts, Josh Addo-Carr. But of course, Ben Barber has just been
Yeah.
terminated by the North Queensland Cowboys. He has been sacked for an incident which occurred at the Townsville Casino. There's no word officially on what has actually occurred there, but Queensland Police are investigating. I guess, Oliver, let's have a little look at this list here. What to
Yeah.
you makes sense for fullback? I think Alex Johnston in 17 would be a chance to simply move to the number one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Other than that, maybe you could say Katoni Staggs, although he is still pretty young, and maybe you don't want to thrust him into that position, even though it's only an All-Stars game sort of thing. I think you maybe save him if he is to come into the side, maybe to play that utility role, or they might prefer Tyrell Fuimanu from the Panthers. So I'd probably go with Alex Johnston and then maybe Katoni Staggs moving onto the bench.
The only other thing I really like as a potential would be seeing Latrell Mitchell potentially return to fullback. I think Will Chambers would go up from the number 14 there. And I'd like to see Jesse Ramian included potentially. Or, like you said, Tyrell Fuimaono, as he can cover the back row as well as centres, halves. Cody Walker, no real surprise there, not from me. Tyrone Roberts, obviously a selection due to Ash Taylor having minor shoulder surgery. He'll be fit for the trials. He just wasn't going to be fit in time for this. What are your thoughts on that halves combination? Anything you change there, or are you pretty happy?
Not really, and let's keep in mind as well, this is voted on by the fans as well. So these are our predictions. This isn't by a coach or anything. Well, not our predictions, our picks as a whole fan base, I guess you could say. On the halves combination, it would have been exciting for me to see Cody Walker and Ash Taylor together. However, we've got Tyrone Roberts, but us being Titans fans as well, it's going to be good to see how Tyrone Roberts is definitely feeling back in the NRL, especially and we know it's just one showcase game, but it's probably going to get a big crowd. He's playing with a lot of quality players in this squad. So I want to see how Tyrone Roberts plays. And it's going to be interesting for me to see who is going to really take this game by the scruff of the neck, Walker or Roberts, and sort of be the lead half in this one. Because it is going to be interesting to see, or if they're going to share, have the lion's share, I guess, of the ball playing duties. So it's interesting for me. I don't really know what to expect from it because I haven't really seen these two in a proper combination before, but I'm excited for it, especially because it is Tyrone Roberts and us being Titans fans. It's going to be good to see how he sort of fits into a situation like an All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think Cody Walker takes on more of a running role with Tyrone Roberts more of an organising role. But I wouldn't be surprised if this team, which is just full of exciting backs and explosive forwards, throws the traditional rugby league game plan out the window and says, guys, we've got so much strike, let's throw it around. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if that's the style they went for. And I suppose having Will Chambers and Alex Johnston, two outside backs on the bench, could also lead to that.
Yeah.
Looking further into their reserves, three more centres there. So they're obviously, in my opinion, look to be wanting to play that brand of footy. We'll move to their front row. Big Andrew Fafita. He is representing his mother's side of his heritage, the Indigenous. I believe his father is Tongan. There was a couple questions there, guys. He has previously played for the Indigenous side, so he's certainly eligible. No questions there. Nathan Peets is your hooker with the 10 to be announced. It was Ryan James, guys. He has had a minor knee injury at Gold Coast Titans training. I believe his recovery time is expected to be around 3 weeks. So he's had to withdraw from the game. I guess, Oliver, who do you think sort of replaces him? I'm inclined to think Leilani Latu comes up from the bench there.
Yeah, looking at the team list here, also if you see me sort of looking down, I've got the team list here on my phone right now as well. I don't really see any other real legitimate options to go into the starting role. Yes, last year at the Titans, he obviously played a lot of Queensland Cup. In fact, I think he played the majority of the season there. However, in this instance, he's been voted into the side by the fans, and I don't really see any other option going in there with sort of a first grade experience as well.
Yeah, I agree. And, Leilani Latu, whilst 2018 certainly wasn't his best year, we've only got to look back to 2017. Tonga versus Fiji, he scored the try under the post to win it for Tonga. We know from experience and from representative past games, he really stands up and plays at a new level when he's representing his culture, whether that's his Tongan or Indigenous side. So I certainly think Leilani Latu won't look out of place filling in that starting role. Although him and Fafita are going to have to play some big minutes at front row. The only other option off the bench now with the reserves listed is Tyrell Fuimaono, who is primarily a centre, can play back row, and Chris Smith, who is primarily a back row lock, can play front row. Are you expecting Andrew Fafita and Leilani Latu to play 80 minutes, or do you think it'll be a case of maybe a 10 or 20 minute break?
No, I do see a break in there for them, and not just because obviously traditionally props don't play 80 minutes, but because it is sort of an attraction game. You want to get everyone on the field, if you get what I'm saying. You want to give everyone a chance to show what they're worth. So, I definitely think Chris Smith will get an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Obviously, players can play out of position a bit, so I think he might play in the front row just because now, obviously, with Ryan James being out, they are a little bit thin there. Yeah. I'd say Fuimaono will probably play, I'd say, second row, although just looking at David Fafita and Adam Elliott, maybe one of those two might push up, front row for a little bit, just if they need to be. As I said, it's not a big deal. It's not a proper club game where you need to be playing in your best position. But I'm also really excited, me personally, just on this Indigenous team. I know they've got some great forwards in there, but I'm personally more excited about their backs. Just to sort of, I guess, divert the attention for a little bit. I'm just looking at the 2 to 5 here. This really excites me for this Indigenous team. Blake Ferguson, arguably one of the best wingers in the league past season, especially offensively. We've got Josh Adokar, the Fox, who had a really good 2018 as well. Obviously made his Origin debut. And we've got Latrell Mitchell and James Roberts, the current New South Wales centre combination in the centres there for the Indigenous All-Stars as well. So definitely that 2 to 5 really excites me for the Indigenous All-Stars.
One thing I've just noticed then I would like to see potentially changed is potentially Latrell Mitchell playing with Josh Adokar. I know they played together for State of Origin.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to keep that combination. And whilst Latrell Mitchell and Blake Ferguson didn't play on the same side for the Sydney Roosters, they do have some sort of chemistry, I suppose, from previously playing. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a switch in the centres there. But obviously, the coach knows what he's doing, and that's a decision he'll make closer to the date. We'll move to their back row. Young David Fafita, Adam Elliott, and a bit of a surprise package, I suppose. The fans have voted Tyrone Peachy at lock. Now, I personally did vote for him at lock, but that was because he's such a talented ball player as well as ball runner. I feel like at lock position, he'll be a little bit more in the middle of the field, and he can use his ball-making skills as well as popping up where required to fill in for a team that, head to tail is full of explosive talent. They've only got to get on the front foot by shifting the footy around, a little bit of unorthodox play perhaps, and I believe the opportunities will open up for Tyrone Peachy. He's too talented not to take them. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Do you like Peachy at lock, or you prefer him in the back line?
I do like him at lock. However, I think he'll play more as a third half, maybe. As you said, Cody Walker will bring more the running game, and we've got Tyrone Roberts more the organisational. I think, Tyrone Peachy can add to that, maybe do a little bit of both. I don't think as much in the organisational side, but definitely set up some good plays there and will definitely be welcome as a third half. I can possibly even see if either Cody Walker or Tyrone Roberts does need to go off for a break at some point, I can easily see him going into the halves, and maybe a player such as Fuimaono coming on possibly into the lock position. Or, as I said, players can play out of position in this game. We're going to see an exciting game of football, probably high scoring in my prediction as well. I definitely see Tyrone Peachy playing at lock, but definitely more as a third half, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think he's got a nice little kicking game as well as offloading game to complement the style of footy we're expected to see. We move to their bench now. We've got Will Chambers in the utility role. Our bench forwards are, at this stage, Leilani Latu and Chris Smith, with Alex Johnston in the 17. We've already spoken about a lot of those players. Of the three players in the extended bench, we've got Jesse Ramian, Tyrell Fuimaono, and Katoni Staggs. We're both under the agreement Fuimaono is the most likely to come up, as he can also play a forward role in a otherwise fairly thin forward pack. We'll move on to our next team, guys, the Maori All-Stars. Now, straight from the top, a little bit of a surprise package. Peter Hiku, not the most experienced fullback, certainly a position he has played in the NRL before, but primarily known as a centre. He will fill in at fullback with our wings as Dane Gagai and Jordan Kahu from the Brisbane Broncos, a very powerful centre, combination of Isan Masters and Dean Whare. Any changes? What do you like most about that back five there, Oliver?
Just on Peter Hiku at fullback, personally, I probably, because I know they don't have an out-and-out fullback, just looking at the squad here in the lineup, I'd probably more have Dean Whare moving to fullback and maybe Peter Hiku coming into the centres, just because I know Dean Whare, especially when he first came to Penrith, was their first choice fullback until Matt Moylan sort of came through and took that position from him. However, I do know that Dean Whare has had that real fullback experience. So I'd probably start him at fullback. But again, as I said, positions can change, whatever. It's an all-star game, so I'm not too worried about that. Isan Masters, obviously, if you've seen you will see the 16 players to watch video coming out soon on Clarkey's NRL column. I've got Isan Masters as my player to watch for the West Tigers, so I'm very excited to watch him in this Maori All-Stars team. And I'm just looking outside. I said there wasn't an out-and-out fullback. I completely missed the man in the picture there. Kalen Ponga, there's a reason why he's playing 5'8" as well. He should be playing there for Newcastle, we believe, in 2019. But as I said as well, everyone can change positions every now and then. Ponga will be able to drop back if he needs to. And Jordan Kahu as well. Obviously, I know I don't, and I don't think you do either, have Kahu in your starting side for the Brisbane Broncos in 2019, and maybe not even on the bench. So, we could be seeing a Queensland Cup player starting at number 5, which is a bit unfortunate for Jordan Kahu as well. But maybe if he has, a really good showing in this in this All-Stars game for the Maori team, maybe that puts him back into the starting lineup. And maybe Jordan Kahu sort of knows this, and he might see this as an opportunity to really show what he's worth. So I'm also going to be looking at Jordan Kahu in this game as well. Dane Gagai on the wing can obviously play in the Indigenous All-Stars as well. We've talked about that, maybe thinking he might not have made that side and choosing to pledge his allegiance with the Maori team. Playing on the wing here, look, if he can show some of the form that he had for Queensland, although I don't think Essen Masters is at that Greg Inglis level yet of, supplying the ball to Dane Gagai, but hopefully for the Maori's sake, he can have a similar showing to what he has had for Queensland over the past few years.
Yeah, definitely. To touch on some of the things you spoke about now, when Jermaine McGilvery, international England winger, did a Q&A for my column, he did state Isan Masters is one of the hardest, or he mentioned Isan Masters as the hardest man he has ever played against. Obviously, he played the entire 2017 World Cup, so that's huge raps on Isan Masters so early in his career. And we know Gagai is a finisher at the elite level if we're going off his State of Origin performances. You touched on Jordan Kahu, and you are correct. He is not in my Brisbane Broncos back 5. My back 5 is Darius Boyd, Jermaine Asako, Jack Bird, James Roberts, and Corey Oates. And my 14 at this stage is either Sean O'Sullivan or Katoni Staggs. So I do have Kahu out of that side. As you said, this is a huge opportunity and one he must take with both hands and potentially show incoming coach Anthony Seibold, hey, I'm putting my hand up. Hey, I'm going to have a big year. Sort of pick me mentality. Into the halves now, Kalen Ponga. Very interesting selection. He is set to start at 5'8" for the Newcastle Knights. So I guess this is a little tease of what we're going to get from KP. in 2019. He's partnered with Jahrome Hughes. Now, this was certainly not the most popular choice. I know a lot of people were voting for Benji, and he did lead the count. However, little known news, Benji suffered a grade 1 hamstring tear a couple days ago at the West Tigers training. He is on restricted duties and is expected to be fully fit within 2 to 4 weeks, which of course, the West Tigers, Benji Marshall, even if he did, in best case scenario, recover in that fortnight time period, this is a hamstring. We saw from Tavita Pengai Jr. last year, if you don't get them right, they will keep troubling you all year. The Tigers wanted no part and no risk to their star playmaker, and fair enough. So Jahrome Hughes from the Melbourne Storm fills in. Obviously, Cody Nikorima was the other choice. Out of those two, who are you looking at, Oliver? What would be your choice for the halfback for this side?
Nikorima has got the experience, obviously, at halfback, but I'm liking Jahrome Hughes' inclusion into the side, no matter what position. Again, another player that can play fullback. But I want to see Jahrome Hughes because he is likely, although Scott Drinkwater, I believe, has been performing well at training. We've heard from Cameron Smith. But I think it'll be Jahrome Hughes to play at fullback for Melbourne this year. So again, a little teaser to see what we're going to get. Not obviously in position, although during the game Hughes can also drop back. But just a little taster of what we can see from Jahrome Hughes. Obviously playing at his home ground as well. I believe the game's at Amy Park. So that's obviously a positive. Playing in front of a big crowd. I want to see a lot of these young guys and see how they handle the pressure of playing a representative game. Because we can expect a big crowd that holds about 30,000 there. They should sell that out, I'd say, a 30,000 stadium. Yeah, I'd hope so as well, just, because this is such an amazing concept as well. I want it to, stick around, maybe with some new themes each year, not always Maori versus Indigenous. We can come up with other ideas. But
Absolutely.
that was just to digress a bit, I guess I could say. But Jahrome Hughes, I am definitely liking him in this side, no matter where he's playing. I just want to get a taste of what Jahrome Hughes brings to the table.
Absolutely. Our front row, Jesse Bromwich, Brandon Smith, also playing at his home stadium. An Australian front row, Jordan McLean, is playing for the New Zealand Maoris. A surprise selection for some, but under the eligibility rules, I believe, I'm not sure if it's his mother or his father, but he does have Maori heritage and therefore is eligible for the side. What are your thoughts on that front row? To me, that's a pretty powerful front row.
Yeah, Jesse Bromwich definitely in the side. A great player for the Melbourne Storm. Brandon Smith is the one that stands out for me.
Yep.
Obviously, Cam Smith re-signing for another 2 years. We spoke on videos before about Brandon Smith. It seems that Craig Bellamy probably pulled him aside and said, look, you're still going to be on the fringes for a couple of years, but stick with it. And, obviously he's going to be learning under a superstar coach, and the best player in the world is his mentor. So I want to see Brandon Smith as well. It's the exact same as Jahrome Hughes. I want to see what Brandon Smith brings to the table and how he plays under this big sort of game situation.
Yep.
Because he is the protege to Cameron Smith in a sense. So that'd be a bit daunting for him. But this, I guess, if he plays well in this game, he is sort of fighting, I guess, for that utility role. No one pops into my head just automatically for that role. If anyone pops into your head for Melbourne, let me know, because I'm just stuck for a minute. Maybe Scott Drinkwater
or Jahrome Hughes are the other options, depending on who takes that fullback role. But I can't see Brandon Smith being left out of the Storm side. He's also the New Zealand international hooker. One thing I've got to give a shout out to for Brandon, when Channel 9 and Fox Sports were both reporting he's really upset at Cameron Smith re-signing, he wants out. I reached out to him and said, look, Brandon, I'm not after a clickbait headline. I'm not after a quick hit of money. Tell me the truth. Are you upset or not? And he said, Clarkey, I'm not upset. I view this as an opportunity to learn from one of the best players ever. And, learning from Cameron Smith for all these years, we saw how good he played for the New Zealand Kiwis last year. Obviously, when they beat Australia, and now he has a chance to back it up, playing for his heritage in the Maori All-Stars. Our back row is 3 of former Melbourne players: Kevin Proctor, Tohu Harris, Adam Blair. Obviously, Proctor and Harris were there for a long time together at the Storm. How excited are you? Excited to see this 3 link up again?
I mean, Proctor arguably played his best footy at the Melbourne Storm. It's hard to
agree.
say being a Titans fan, but you got to say it. Tohu Harris as well. You could echo the same statement. Adam
Yeah.
Blair, he's had good times at teams like Brisbane making the grand final as well, and so on and so forth. And just looking at this forward pack as well, the entire forward pack has played for Melbourne before. Just looking at this, obviously Bromwich and Smith are there at the moment, but McLean, Proctor, Harris, and Blair have all played at Melbourne. So that forward pack, what springs to mind for me is chemistry.
Yeah, I would agree.
Definitely. They're going to be glad to be back together as well. And see if they've still got that flair there, which I think they will, and they'll have the opportunity to experiment with the way they play as well in this All-Star game. So I definitely think it's a tough forward pack to go up against. But, just going back to the Indigenous team quickly, just looking here, you're more going experience up against potential. The potential is there for the Indigenous team for fullback, and then for the Maori team, it is more the experience. That is going to be really interesting for me to see.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that statement. We'll move to the Maoris bench now. Danny Levi, Brad Takarangi, James Fisher-Harris, and James Tamou, who has previously, I guess you could say, turned his back on the New Zealand Kiwis and chosen Australia. However, Kenny Edwards did say in a Q&A for my column, he's stepbrothers with James Tamou, I believe. Apparently, James Tamou, the Kiwis didn't select him, but Australia selected him. So that's where the dilemma came in, because he wanted to play top-grade footy, and there was no offer there for him from the Kiwis. Obviously, that's why he chose Australia. So interesting there, but he does get a chance finally to represent his heritage. James Fisher-Harris, Brad Takarangi, almost a bit of utility value there, but Danny Levi. Now, biggest question I have here, would you have him in the 14, or would you have someone who can cover a little bit more positions in Cody Nikorima?
I'd probably have Nikorima in the 14.
I agree.
But as I said before, this is a fans voted thing. So this is what the majority of the fans wanted. They want to give Danny Levi a chance. So I think that's great to see. He's primarily, look, I don't see him playing too many minutes. I think Brendan Smith is on there for the majority of the game.
Yep.
But, if maybe Smith's playing a bit out of form, or, he's maybe not coping as much under pressure, they might give Danny Levi a go.
Well,
but
I see Danny, sorry to cut you off, I see Danny Levi featuring prominently in the last 20. This, as you said, is obviously a much larger and a team with a lot more chemistry. If I quickly flip back to the Indigenous forward pack, guys, have a look there, especially in terms of size. Peachy is a little bit smaller, and especially when they go to the bench, obviously the only forward that will be there will be Chris Smith. I see once this Maori forward pack has established its dominance over this smaller Indigenous side, if they're not able to throw the ball around and play creative footy, that is, then Danny Levi comes on in the last 20. After they've already established the dominance up the middle, and Danny Levi has the quick scoots out and the explosive runs we see from him at Newcastle.
Yeah, definitely. But as you sort of alluded to there, I don't see Levi playing too much. I'm thinking maybe last 15, 20 minutes there. Look, the rest of the bench as well, I think it's a solid bench full of great first-grade experience. Obviously, James Fisher-Harris, I think, is featured for the New Zealand Kiwis over the past couple of years. James Tamou, former New South Wales and Australian player. So, look, I think we've got a lot of great talent here. Again, solid depth for the forward pack for the Maori team. It is going to be a really hard forward pack to come up against, but for me, looking at the two sides as well, the thing that sticks out for me is I'd definitely say the Indigenous backs are probably, world class almost. And I'd say that the Maori's forward pack is world class for me. So that's where, I don't know, that's where it makes it tricky to pick this one, because they're both good in two different ways. Obviously, 1 to 13 for both sides is still very good. However, just in those positions in particular as well. Onto, I guess, the extended bench now. Jared Beale, Corey Haruiranara, Joseph Tarpany. Obviously, we haven't really heard of any injuries or anything thus far. Are they going to be playing with the extended bench? Because I think they have before in an All-Stars game a few years ago. Are they going to have the 14 to 20 on the bench, or is 18 to 20 going to be just backups? Because I think that they've had extended benches before, so that's just interesting for me.
Yeah, well, that's certainly not
Whether these guys
confirmed.
will feature.
But that's certainly not confirmed. But if that was to be confirmed, interesting that the Maoris have gone
Yeah.
with 1 back, 2 forwards. Whereas if we flick back to the Indigenous side, we've got 3 backs there: Katoni Stack,
Yeah.
Jesse Ramian, Tyrell Fuime Ono. Pretty solid teams on both sides of the coin. Final prediction: I am gonna go New Zealand Maoris 16 to 12. My first try scorer is Dane Gagai. My keys to win for the Maoris is to establish dominance in the middle of the field with a stronger forward pack that boasts more depth off the bench. And my keys to win for the Indigenous All-Stars team is to play a creative brand of football, let the offloads flow, throw the ball around early in the set, and try to tire out a larger forward pack. Over to you, Oliver, to finish the video. What is your final predictions for this match?
So I've actually got the Indigenous All-Stars winning this one. I'm going to go 32 to 24 because I think that creative brand, that back 5 for me, back 7 even, is a very exciting prospect, and I think a lot of points are going to come through the 2 to 5 for me. Obviously, we're going to see polar opposites in the brands of football played. I think that the Maori team will be playing more through the middle, and we'll be seeing the Indigenous team going and looking for the edges and looking for the centres and wingers to really produce points there.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us. This was our Indigenous and Maori All-Stars reaction and predictions. February 15th, Amy Park. These two teams will meet in a pre-season clash. My name is Dane from Clarkey's NRL column. Thank you for joining us for this video, and I'll hand it over to Oliver from NRL In My Opinion to say goodbye.
Yeah, Oliver from NRL In My Opinion. Same name on Facebook and Instagram. Head over there, give a like, give a follow, and I'll see you guys later.